Okay, I'm here this morning for the second test of my flying wing with floats. On the first test, I just wanted to check whether this thing was going to be able to fly with any floats at all on it, whether the weight was going to be a problem or the wind resistance the floats added was going to be a problem. So now what I've done is I've extended the length of the floats by another 3 or 4 inches. Because they were a little bit too stubby, I think, for proper landings. Again, this is just a test. These aren't attached permanently. These are just tacked on with some hot glue. So let's see if it can fly now. There's even more weight. So again, I'm going to start just like last time with just a 1300 battery. Make sure this is on the right setting. It is. Just a 1300 battery. It'll probably fly tail heavy if it flies at all. Wouldn't it be awesome if I could take off from the grass with it? But I don't think so. The grass is pretty thick. See how it just pushes into the ground as well? So that probably tells us that we're not going to be able to take off, at least from grass. Who knows what will happen with water. Got a little bit of a breeze today, so I'm going to launch it. The breeze is actually coming from this direction, but I find it difficult to launch in this direction. So I'm going to launch it sideways. See how it flies. Should I put a camera? Maybe I'll put a camera if it does fly. Look how tail heavy that flies. Very difficult to fly it. Very difficult to fly it. I don't think that was necessarily from the extra weight of the floats. It may just be a balance problem. So I'm going to put an even bigger battery on it. So the one thing I did, other than just having larger floats, is they've also, like for the front one, I've got a little bit of extra weight on the front, but the other two, I've moved them out further to the sides, which in turn is making the plane a little bit more tail heavy. I guess I can take those 2 pieces of green tape off of there. So let's just try with a little bit more weight. See if that makes it any better. I'll take off that green tape if it flies this time. Don't want to get those batteries wet. That was really difficult to get up in the air. I'm going to try this way so that I don't end up hitting that plane. Or that tree. Plane. Flies better with some extra weight in the front. I've got that a little under half throttle. It's being thrown around by the wind. I'm sure all the extra kind of looks cool with the floats. No, it's flying like I've got up elevator mixed in by default. It's floating pretty nicely with... Well, you see how it turned over there? Turn that off. Now, this front float, I didn't put a whole lot of engineering into this. The middle float is actually thicker than the other two, which isn't ideal for landing on grass. And you see how it kind of goes funky there at the end? It's just because I didn't feel like disconnecting the old middle float. I just added to it where the two side ones are new. So if these were all the same size, it might be a little bit easier to land. Let's try that again. But it did float in quite well. And they do come off quite nicely. So that's all three of them off. There's my three floats, and you can see how well they were tacked on there. All three of them came off and just left me some hot glue. So now I can just fly it around without them. Let's take a little tour. The wing as it's supposed to be. There's no doubt that there's a difference in how it flies with and without the floats. I'm always telling you guys that it's windy, and when I look back at the footage, I don't see the wind, but if you look past the plane and you see those clouds moving up there, it should tell you that it is actually, there is a fair bit of a breeze here. I'm generally standing behind this old building that it doesn't get used anymore. So the wind is kind of shielded from where I'm standing. So the camera doesn't necessarily pick it up when there is wind. That's always a good idea. Do a roll right into the sun where you can't see it. And my patented cartwheel landing. So what have we seen? It can fly. That last takeoff was a little bit of a misadventure, but it can fly. I think it can work. I'm not sure if it's worth it or not. Maybe I'll just have to build myself a Polaris or some other variant of a plane that's supposed to go on water.